Welcome to Vayani Tutors. Today in this session, we'll learn about Unit 7 ArrayList that carries 2.5 to 7.5% of the total weightage in the exam. In the last video, we learned about arrays to hold collections of related data. But arrays have limitations. The size of an array is established at the time of creation and cannot be changed. So, what if you don't know how big the collection of data is? Or what if we want to add or remove items from the collection and change the size of the collection while the program is running? Luckily, in Java, we have something called ArrayList, which is a resizable array. An ArrayList has an underlying array that grows and shrinks as needed. We can always use ArrayList instead of arrays whenever we don't know the size of the array that we are using in the program. And we can also remove items or add and change the array size dramatically during the runtime. An array list can change during the runtime by adding and removing objects from it. In other words, array list is mutable. The array list class in the Java, the array list class is in the Java util package. A package is a set of library of related classes. The java.lang package is in the main. When we want to just import the classes from a package, we can use import statement for each class that we want to use. Now what if we want to import everything in the same level in a package using import package name? This is how you do it. Now let us learn how to declare and create array lists. To declare a array list using ArrayList type name, ArrayList type name, change the type to the whatever type of objects you want to store in the array list. We don't have to specify the generic type or the type, since it will default to object. But it is a good practice to specify it to restrict what to allow in the array list. Now let us see, there are some of the methods in array list. To start with, the size. As we saw in the last session, we can get the number of items in an array list using the size method. The array list starts out empty with a size 0. With arrays, you use the length field to get the number of items in the array. With an array list, you use the size method to get the number of items in the array list. Another method is add object to the array list. We can add values to the array list by using the add object, add obj, which will add the object to the end of the list, just the way we join the end of a line to the board of a bus. Here when adding integer objects to the list, we can use the integer constructors like add new integer 5 in Java version 7, which is used for the exam. But in Java version 9, you can just add int value directly like add 5 in the Java version, and it will change into an integer object automatically. This is called auto boxing. When you put an int value out of the list of integers, that is called unboxing. There are basically two add methods in an array list class. Third one is add index object in an array list. Now there are actually two different add methods in the array list, the add object and add index object. Now add object method adds line passed object to the end of the list, whereas add index object method adds the passed object at the passed index, but first moves over any existing value to higher indices to make room for the new object. We have seen how to add things. Now what if we want to remove? We can remove using the remove index to the item at a given index from the list. This will move all the other items over in the underlying array and decrease the size of the array list by 1. We can get the object at an index using object is equal to list name dot get index and set the object at an index using the list name dot set index object. Set or get are used after you add and remove elements to an array list to change or retrieve them. After learning the arrays and array list, you might be confused when to use Arrays or array lists. Use of an array when you want to store several items of the same type and you know how many items will be there in the array, and the items in the array won't change in order or number. Use array list when you have to store several items of the same type but you don't know how many items you will need in the list, or when you want to remove items from the list or add items to the list while the program is running. Note that the ArrayList methods add and remove do not have a simple equivalent in arrays because they actually change the size of the underlying array and move elements over. Here is a comparison of how to access and change elements in the array and ArrayList. For example, operation length or size, we use array.length in array and list.size and parenthesis in ArrayList. For accessing, value is equal to array. Inside the square brackets, you put the index and a semicolon. Value is equal to list.getIndex in ArrayList. Modifying can be done using array index is equal to value. In ArrayList, it is list.setIndex, value. While loops, for loops and enhanced for each loops can all be used to traverse an array list just like an array. When we use a for loop in ArrayLists, we can use a while or for loop to process list elements using the index. The array list index starts at 0 just as in arrays, but instead of using the square brackets to access elements, we use get index to get the value at the index and set index value to set the elements at an index to a new value. If you try to use an index that is outside of the range of 0 to the number of elements -1 in an array list, then your code will be thrown an array index out of bounds exception just as in arrays. ArrayList algorithms. There are standard ArrayList algorithms that utilize traversals too, like insert elements, delete elements, determine the minimum or maximum values, computing a sum, average or mode of elements, search for a particular element in the array, determine if at least one of the element has a particular property, determining if all the elements have these particular properties, access all consecutive pairs of elements, determine the presence or absence of duplicate elements, determining the number of elements meeting specific criteria, shift or rotate elements left or right, and reverse the order of the elements. We know that computer stores a large amount of data. One of the strengths of the computer is their ability to find things very quickly. This ability is also known as search. There are basically two types of searching: sequential or linear search and a binary search. Now, what is sequential or linear search? This typically starts at the first element in an array or array list and looks through all the items one by one until it either finds the desired value and then it returns the index it found the value, or if it searches the entire array or list without finding the value, then it returns -1. Now, what is binary search? This can only be performed on data that are sorted or stored in some order. It checks the middle of the data to see that middle value is less than 1, equal or greater than the desired value, and then based on the results of that, it narrows the searches, it cuts the search space in half each time. We mentioned that binary search is provided or performed only on the sorted data. Now, how does a computer do sorting? This is basically done in three ways. There are three ways of sorting, which are selection sort, insertion sort and merge sort. To know what is a selection sort, here we select the smallest item from the current location on the end of the array and swap it with the value at the current position. This is done from index 0 to the array length -2. We don't have to process the last element in the array. It will automatically be sorted when we compare the prior element to the last element. Coming to insertion sort, insert the next unsorted element in the already sorted part of the array by moving larger values to the right, starting at the index 1 and looping through the entire array. Now what is merge sort? It is break the elements into two parts and recursively sort each part. An array of one item is sorted, which is base case. Then merge the two sorted arrays into one. Merge sort will be covered in the unit number 10. With this, we end the unit 7 here. Meet you in the next class with unit 8. Till then, stay tuned. Take care.